Okay, once again, hello everybody. I would like to welcome you on our first webinar. First webinar this year, and the topic is quite interesting and quite unusual because that's also an innovation that we are proposing this year, the first one. So first of all, we are today with a small group of clients I can see. Still, please make sure that you can hear me and you can see me well, because I'm informed that the quality of our video stream is quite okay. So please check if everything is good with your connection and that you can see everything. There will be a small presentation part, after which I will also show you how to actually create the polygonal geofences. Once we are finished with that, you can ask your questions. You can also do it during the presentation, so we'll answer them all at the end of it. Okay, I'm informed that there were some troubles with sound. So can you hear me now? Is everything okay? You can just write in the chat if you have any problems. I think that we can start now. So, the topic we are going to discuss today is concerning the polygonal geofences. So as you know from our previous webinars and our video instructions on our YouTube channel, we already supported some kinds of geofences, but they were only circle geofences and geofences rectangular, based on the axis of the coordinates. And they were both made only via EasyLogic scripts. So today we will look at the new tools and new functionality of Galileosky trackers. But first of all, wanted to point out that this functionality can be used only on Galileosky 7 or base block devices with firmware version 20.5 or higher. Also, since an SD card should be used with this functionality, no light versions will support it unless they have the micro SD slot manually attached to it. And of course, you will need the configurator program of the latest version, but that's usually needed anyway, so it is always better to upgrade your configurator program to the latest version. So as I already started to mention, we supported geofences before, and they were made in EasyLogic, but they had certain limitations. First of all, they could be only circle or rectangular, so no polygons or no lines were supported in this case. We couldn't draw some free shapes that you desired or routes. So you had to make a number of circles or a number of rectangulars to do that. There was no visual demonstration of the geofence that you created, so you had to first look at the map, find the coordinates, then count down the radius or to draw the lines yourself, just to understand where your geofence will lead you, and only then create it in EasyLogic. So that was not quite convenient for some clients. Also, as I already mentioned, you couldn't do that anyway but via EasyLogic, and the geofences were not numerated, so you were simply creating them in EasyLogic and at the same time setting reaction for entering or for abandoning specific geofence. So you couldn't do any settings in EasyLogic based on the number, and you couldn't, well, you had to make certain actions to send the number of the geofence to the monitoring software. The current functionality that I'm going to tell you about supports polygonal geofences, as you can see in the left side of this slide. So this is not rectangular. It has more angles, 6 to be precise, and oh no, even 7. So you can see that there are certain dots that are making the geofence. So and the second type is linear, as you can see on the right slide, on the right part of the slide. So it just covers the road that you need. Well, it's usually used for roads in this case. What are the specifics of these new geofences? When we're talking about linear geofences, we are making lines, of course, along the roads. The width of each line by default, and well, it is not changed, so it is equal to 50 meters. So it's 50 meters, 25 to the left, 25 to the right. The geofences are created from KML-files, which can be exported from, well, practically any interactive maps, so digital maps like Google Earth or Google Maps. And many monitoring softwares also support exporting KML files from their sources. I will today show you how to draw one in the monitoring server Vialon, and how to export it and later use. The other features are that you can remotely synchronize the file with geofences. So if working with EasyLogic scripts, you had to load new scripts all the time via the remote configuration server, here you can simply take the KML file, new one, for example, or existing one, but for a device which hasn't had the KML file installed yet, and synchronize it with your net folder using the WebDAV cloud synchronization. We have an instruction on our website, Galileosky.com, in the support section. So it is dedicated to WebDAV synchronization. So if any questions appear on this matter, you can first address to this instruction, and then if any other questions on this or other points appear, our technical support team is always glad to help you with that. One of the other important things to understand is there now is a priority of geofences. So when we create several of them and several cover one and the same area, the one that was created and is higher in the KML file and was created first is higher in priority. So the tracker will first look at the geofences with least number, and once the tracker understands it's in some geofence, it will ignore the rest. So that's also quite important to remember. And if, for example, you are making many small geofences and one big that contains all of them, it is wiser to make the big geofence the last, so the latest. As for numeration that I already mentioned, all geofences are numerated. The numeration starts from 1, not from 0. So the first geofence you create is geofence 1, the second is 2, and so on and so forth. There are also certain restrictions of working with new geofences. They are small, yet it is it should be known that one geofence created by you should not consist of more than 2,000 points, otherwise our trackers will not be able to read this geofence. One tracker can be working only with no more than 1,000 geofences, which is more than sufficient, yet it is important to know that. And currently for KML files, only linear and polygon geofences are supported. Circle geofences are not, well, due to certain technical restrictions. So this is how the geofences look. This is example from Vialon software. So you can see here 6 geofences, 3 polygon, 3 linear. They have all different colors. They all cover different areas. Please pay attention that the geofence 4 is smaller, and geofence 6 consists of geofence 4 as well. So 4 is before 6. This is the correct way to do it. If we made it the other way, so if 4 was big and 6 was small, then we will not be able to check the smaller one, because we will also be first in the bigger one, as I already mentioned. After you export the KML file with the geofence, you can open it via any text editor, and you will see something like this. So some code like that. These are actually all the geofences created and exported from your source. One geofence, any geofence, starts with the name and well, and ends with the name as well, with slash. So just one moment. No, sorry, with place marks. It starts with place marks. So anytime you need, you can actually edit the ready KML file yourself. For example, if you want to change the order of the geofences, because it does not matter how they are called, it matters in what order they are in this KML file. I will also show it a bit later. Of course, we can, first of all, the number of geofence that the tracker is inside at the moment is sent to the monitoring software in the status field. So it's the same as if you maybe have worked already with our older trackers like Galileosky 5.0. It also supports creating geofences in the firmware, and it allows to have enumeration as well. The status of the device shows if the tracker is inside some geofence. So it will not show you which geofence it is in, but it will show you if it's inside geofence or outside. It's translated in one of the bits of the status field, and it will be 0 if no geofence is, or tracker is not inside any geofence, 1 if tracker is inside certain geofence. But you can also use easy logic to set different reactions. Here, for example, you can see how the tracker will send a SMS message each time the tracker gets inside the geofence or gets outside of it. So you can see a simple algorithm where we check if we are in geofence 5. Once we are there, we send SMS that the vehicle got inside the geofence and wait for getting out of the geofence. When we get out of the geofence, we also want to send SMS that the vehicle left the geofence and wait until we get inside it. So, how you can upload the KML files? There are two ways. Either you can do it locally. In this case, you will need to connect the micro SD card from the tracker to the PC you have the KML file on, and it's very important that you name your file zones.kml and copy it to the directory you can see on screen. So it's in the root you create a folder named geofences, and there you put this file. Otherwise the tracker will not be able to read the KML file and get the geofences. Once you write this file on the micro SD card and insert it back into the tracker will take several seconds to calibrate, and then it will be able to work with the geofences and tell if the tracker is inside any geofence or not. And the other way, which I already mentioned today, is a remote synchronization with the WebDAV cloud server, where the contents of the SD card are synchronized with the web storage, so cloud storage, where you can store this KML file. So just to sum up, what are the improvements of this new type of geofences? They support new shapes, polygonal, any polygonal shapes, and any linear shapes. You can actually see the geofence on the map, so you don't need to pretend and simulate the geofence that you've created in EasyLogic. You can see it directly on the map, on the interactive map, and you have an opportunity to load this geofence file remotely to the tracker. So this is all for the presentation part. Now I would like you to show you how the geofence is actually created and what can be done with it, apart from what already shown. So just one moment. I will now share my screen with you. Okay, so please tell me if you can see the screen with the map, if everything is okay. Okay, do you see it now? Great. Okay, so we are now in the WeAlone software. I understand that the quality is not the best one. Sorry for that, but these are the limitations of this of our webinar and our connection speed. Yet I will simply at least show you how to do that. So we take a certain area that we need to cover. We access the geofences tab. So here are several tabs from monitoring to units, and there is a certain specific tab called geofences. It contains of all the geofences you have ever created and saved. In order to create a new geofence, we simply push the new, enter the name like geofence test. And choose the color of the name, for example, green. We can also choose the green color for showing the geofence itself. The most important part is choosing the type. So here are polygon and line. Let's, for example, make polygon. Double-clicking on the map will create a new point. The points will be connected automatically one after the other. So when you create one point, then second point, third point, fourth, and later on, they will all be connected in the same order you create them. If I, for example, create a point here, I will have such a figure, because this was the last point and this was the first point. The new point is also is always connected to both of them. But you can also edit these points, order any well, in any way you like. So that's how to create a polygon geofence. We simply push the save button now, and we have it here. It has a name, geofence test, and here we tick to show it on the map. So like that. Linear is created in the same way. You just have points connected to each other without forming some area. You will have only lines. So here we choose line, we call it geofence test 1. And we start also making points. We can do it alongside the road. In this case, you can see that a line is created, and well, of course, I'm not trying very hard now, but you can make the image closer and you will see the actual road and you can follow it better. Once I'm finished, I also push the save button, and we can see the geofence test and geofence test 1. One is polygon, one is linear. Now, in order to save them as a file, we access our account settings and import-export option. There we have export to KML or KMZ format. We choose that one, and this is specifics of the we alone creating KML file. Here we do not, well, as you have mentioned, as you have seen, I have a number of geofences here. They are all sorted in the uprising order from the smallest number to the highest, and then from the earliest letters of the alphabet to the latest letters of the alphabet. In order to maintain order of geofences in the KML file, you simply should choose the geofences in the same order you want them to see in KML file. So here I, for example, first select geofence test 6, then geofence test 3, then 5, then 2. In KML files, they will be in the same order I'm now choosing them, and we'll have numeration for easy logic from 1 to, well, to the last number. I will now just choose a couple and save it. I push OK, and we have a new file which we can show in the folder. Do you see the folder now? Because I'm not sure if I'm sharing this screen as well. Yes, okay. So you can see here the geofences file. So after that, we simply rename it to zones.kml, and we can actually save it in the microSD card if we need. Now, what else I wanted to show you is how to actually work with those. Well, I've already shown how to work with the in the easy logic with these conditions. I just want you to see what other types to work with we can do. So as you've seen, it is all made by condition. The geofence parameter is in the navigation section, so we choose it, and we can actually choose each geofence separately and decide what to do next with it. For example, we set 3 geofences, so we create 3 different conditions. and check them one by one if we are in any of the geofences. Yes. So if we are in any of these three geofences, we can create separate reactions to those by simply making the branch further on. So what we can do, we can, as I already shown you, send SMS about vehicle driving into geofence. Or we can check the speed limit, of course, because that's usually the most popular way to work with geofences. For that, also navigation speed, and is it more than 60? And here we can diversify the speed limits. For example, for geofence 1 we set speed limit 60 or higher. For geofence 2 we set it, for example, 75. For Geofence 3 we can set it to 40 because that's maybe some zone with low speed, and thus we will check in each geofence different speed limit. Also we can set one speed limit for different geofences. In this way we simply check different geofences but have one and the same outcome. So it doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4, we still check if speed is more than 40. And of course then you can set any reaction you like changing the output, like this one, if the speed is more than the limit. It can be a buzzer, it can be a light indication. We can ring the dispatcher, we can send SMS of speed violation. We can, there are plenty actually of actions to do, and the geofences can be used in different ways. So it can be used for notifications of certain entries of areas, or simple control of entry limits, control of speed limit in a geofence. You can automatically shut down the data transmission when you enter it, and so on and so forth. So there are different functionality that you can use with the geofences. And I think that's all that I would like to cover today, because it's hard to tell everything. You know that EasyLogic has a lot of potential and a lot of functions to be covered and to be used with for different situations. So it all usually depends on what you need to do. But I have shown you now that we have widened our functionality. We are now supporting new geofences, and many of our clients actually, and I think you as well, were waiting for adding the this functionality to our trackers, the linear and the polygonal geofences. So I think that's all for the presentation part. Now please, if you have any questions concerning our topic, I will be very happy to help you with that. Okay, I can see in the chat that Mr. Mohammed Safir asked if geofence overlapped, which one's speed limit will work. Okay, as I already mentioned, if we have a couple of geofences covering each other and they have different speed limits, then the one that was mentioned in the KML file earlier, like the first, the second, doesn't matter. We, for example, have geofence 2 and geofence 4. Geofence 2 will have higher priority because the tracker will check it first. And so depending on what speed limit is set for geofence 2, this speed limit will be used for the tracker. So again, that's very important to remember that you also always should first set the narrow parts, the little parts, and then you should set the bigger ones, because otherwise the bigger ones will always be processed first and little ones will not be processed at all. I hope that it was a sufficient answer, Mr. Mohammed Safir. Any more questions, gentlemen? Because the topic is not quite difficult. It's pretty simple. Yet, if any questions occur, please do ask them. Do not hesitate, because we're here to help you and to make things clear for you. Okay, so I guess no questions are coming. How small geofence we can have? Actually, any. So if we are talking about line, it can contain 2 points only. If we are talking about polygonal geofences, then it should be at least triangle. The size does not matter. You can have as small as you like or as big as you like. You can cover all the earth. You can cover just a part of a road or a building or part of a building. It all comes to the map part. Distance between geofences. Let's just say if you can see on the map that there is a distance between the geofences, then there is some distance. You can go as short as little distance between them as you can, as you like, doesn't matter. But if you see on the map that 2 geofences are covering each other, that means that, well, the distance is too small because there is none. Otherwise, no limitations in this part as well. Okay, so bridge areas, what about them? Of course, we can cover it. You can either use the linear geofences to create roads, because bridges are usually still less than 50 meters in wide, I mean in one side. But if you want to cover all the bridge and it's quite wide, then you can use simply polygon geofences, and the tracker will cover the whole surface of the bridge. Okay, Mr. Mohammed, maybe any other questions, or any other participants maybe want to ask their questions while we still can, while we'll still have time for that, because we have plenty of time left for a question part. I would also like to mention that for those of you who haven't seen yet, we have Galileosky Easy Logic basic course in English available since the end of previous year. So if you are interested and want to learn how to work with basics of Easy Logic, you can sign up for this course. For that, you can address our technical support engineers and tech support team, and we will provide you access for that. Okay, so sometime roads will be there in different levels, one top of another one. Ah, you mean this one, the tunnels and bridges and so on. Well, once again, if the tracker, well, it depends on what geofence will be the first on in the KML file. So when the two geofences will cross and the tracker will be in both geofences, it will check the speed limit that it was in the earlier geofence, in the one that was up, well, in the upper part. Although usually in these parts the speed limit is one and the same, so for tunnel, well, okay, for tunnel it may be lower, then you simply should create the geofence with lower speed limit earlier. No, I'm afraid, well, actually we can, of course. We have also, we have a sign that's called angle of movement, which is determined by the angle of the line of movement according to the north, so and by and clockwise. So theoretically, yes, you can also check the moving direction in the easy logic and choose which speed limit to use. Although in this case, I would say that, well, well, yes, it can be solved like that if you need it. Yeah, great. Okay, as for your questions, Richard, yes, of course, after the presentation and after the webinar is ended, we will send the recordings of this webinar to your emails so you can look once again, and if you had any problems with the connection and the quality of network, you can rehear it, and any questions occur, you can ask them as well to our tech support specialists. Okay, I think we can finish now because I see no questions, new questions arriving. Thank you very much for your attention. Please, if you haven't yet subscribed, subscribe to our YouTube channel, Galileosky Worldwide, where we create new videos and upload them every month. There are new interesting functions with easy logic, with can scanner, with different new functionalities. Soon we will also upload a video about the new geofences as well in English. Also watch for our new webinars because we'll try to cover the most interesting material for you. And thank you all for your attention. Have a nice day and bye-bye.